You are listening to Radio Maria Canada. We now present the Health Hub, hosted by Kathy Biasi.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Health Hub. I'm Kathy Biasi, your host, and along with our producer, Alex Diaz, we would like to welcome you to our first show of 2020 and of the new decade. I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday. Alex, good morning. How was your time off?
Good morning, Kathy, and yes, Happy New Year to all. My time off flew by, but I really enjoyed myself. I spent all my time with my family who I haven't seen in so long, so I really enjoyed that experience all too much.
Wonderful. You were in London, England?
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah. And you just got back?
On Sunday.
On Sunday.
Yeah.
So we're still adjusting to the new year.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
But
well, you know what? I was just I had a few resolutions. A couple of them have already gone by the wayside, but I have hopes for the ones that still endure. And one of them was to get here a little bit. This is the one that just like went out the window today. Was to get here a little early, be a little bit more relaxed and prepared. Because sometimes I find that we just fly in and sit down, and sometimes those are the better shows, I guess. But preparation for many things is something I'm really trying to work on for the new year. I
think that should be my goal as well.
Well, it's I tell you, it's so busy. It's just such a busy time. Everybody seems busy. The kids are busy. I'm busy. You're busy. It's just the time. I can't believe that this is our first time in 3 weeks doing a show. Yeah, we haven't had a live show in almost a month.
I would have to agree with that. Yes.
Yeah, because I think Allison's show just before Christmas was taped. So we're approaching a month now, and honestly, it doesn't seem like that at all. But anyways, today's show is live, so please do call in if you have any questions for any of us. Our guest, Kirk Mote. Our number is 416-245-1534. And please do follow us on our social sites. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and we are at the Health Hub RMC on all three. And do feel free to continue with emailing us at thh@radiomaria.ca. And please do subscribe to our podcast. We are the Health Hub. We are on iTunes, SoundCloud, all your favorite podcast platforms. We have just a stellar lineup of guests out of the chute here. You don't want to miss anything. So do sign up for that. Subscribe, and you'll get a notification when our new shows are up. And you can also find our podcasts on the Radio Maria Canada website, which is Radio Maria Canada. Sorry, it's not actually. It's www.radiomaria.ca, and on my website, which is kathybiasi.com. So what I thought I'd start out with, I think I was actually going to talk about, keeping your resolutions and everything, but I think we did that last year.
I think so.
So I thought,
yes, we did.
Well, because it's a new decade and so many potentially wonderful things are on the cusp in the area of health, in the area of integrative health, I thought that I would give you just my thoughts on what I think we can hopefully look forward to as far as health trends continuing from where we left off in 2019, because we did have so many promising trends. And I think these will not only continue, but become more and more impactful on our health throughout the decade as a whole. Number one, for me, you might find this odd, is our continued understanding of the importance of sleep. Key for circadian rhythm to function properly. We've had a few shows on circadian rhythm. It's something we talk about a lot here for the balancing of proper hormone functioning, for anti-aging, for proper health. I think sleep is really going to take on an even deeper meaning as we get into the new decade. Gone now, I think, is that notion that sleep was just the bridging of 2 days. This will continue to be researched and studied. And along with that, the myriad of studies going on with the microbiome. And believe me, I'm not just harping on these two things because they're my passion area. I do think that our understanding of the microbiome and its integral role in our health will grow exponentially over this next decade. We are just finding out so many more links to health, so many more applications where our understanding of the microbiome can work. And I think what we may start seeing, and I think this was kind of intimated by one of our guests last year, is the application more through this decade of that understanding. For instance, designer probiotics that will focus on perhaps dealing with a particular health issue with one or two strains of bacteria. I think you might see that. I think, we are starting to see more and more the applications of probiotics to counter the effects of antibiotics. We may see more and more of that in our medical system where you are actually prescribed a probiotic when you're being given an antibiotic. So my hopes is that will continue, and I don't see any reason for that to stop. We were just seeing more and more applications, as I said. I also think the role of the environment and its impact on our health will take on a deeper meaning for us in the new decade, and its role in our health. And I think we're going to become more and more conscientious of it as more functional medicine practitioners take this on, as it's becoming more and more relevant in the medical field as well. Just an understanding of how important the environment we are in is to our health. Trying to, at home, create better environments, what we put on our skin, all of those things. The environment, to me, will be a very, very important trend going through. I also expect a continued explosion of artificial intelligence and biohacking. The instruments that we wear to monitor our health, I think, will become more and more precise, more and more evolved. Things we can expect to see in medical devices, I was reading, are smart technologies that will be connected to smartphones, to your computers, things like insulin pens that track how much the patient needs, pills that come in smart packaging that will give you a beep on your phone to let you know when to take them. It's outstanding. And, there are two or three more. I don't know if I want to take all this time, but I'll just sort of hone over a couple of things. Precision medicine will continue to be used and ingratiated in the health field. We're going to see medicine geared to more understanding of as we understand more of our genomics. Precision medication and its applications will become a great stride. It will take on a great stride through the new decade. And along with that, my true hopes are that we will see a decrease in fad diets. We will see an increase in the importance of individualized nutrition plans for people. And this doesn't have to be an in-depth, every bite you eat with your genomic makeup, but just a greater understanding as we get into precision medicine, that precision nutrition as well will take on an understanding that we are all unique individuals, and we'll see less and less of these fad diets that people go on that maybe not be beneficial for their health. So those are exciting things for me. I think, an overall picture is diseases like heart health, hopefully cancer, will become more and more manageable. And they're even talking about finding and ridding asthma for people that have asthma. So, it's going to be a wonderful decade coming up. So, we hope that we can be here and continue to bring you more and more of the advances here on the Health Hub. So on to our guest today. In 1 year alone, 475,000 Americans die from cardiac arrest. Globally, cardiac arrest claims more lives than colorectal cancer, breast cancer, prostate cancer, influenza, pneumonia, auto accidents, HIV, firearms, and house fires combined. Our guest, Kirk Mote, is founder of SIte Services and is on a mission to bring that number down to zero. After assisting in a medical emergency, Kirk realized his calling in life was to teach life's most important skill, and that's saving lives. After diving into CPR training and certification, Kirk went on to create SIte Services, a medical device company that specializes in developing AED programs for homes and businesses. SIte Services AED Program provides the only automated external defibrillator, which is the AED, that's the acronym for it, on the market with Real CPR Help, the world's first AED program management solution and scenario-based training. Whether you're at home, at work, or enjoying a day at the park, having access to an AED can be life-saving. Kirk has made it his passion to educate businesses and individuals on the benefits of easily accessible AEDs, as well as the importance of proper training and maintenance. This is a very, very important show. I actually asked my husband, if he has AEDs in his business. I don't think this is required. I could be wrong about this. I don't think this, though, however, is required. Also very important to have in our homes. And this is something that I know Kirk is very passionate and we'll talk to him about. So a few of our learning points today will be, how do AEDs actually work? Do you need specific training to use an AED? And why we should have AEDs in our homes. And we'll be back to you after this break.
There's no space that his love can't reach. There's no place where we can't find peace. There's no end to amazing grace. Take me in with your arms spread wide. Take me in like an orphan child. Never let go, never leave my side. Oh my God.
Welcome back, everybody. Our show today is live. Please do call in. Our number is 416-245-1534. And do follow us on our social sites. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and we are at the Health Hub RMC. Kirk, welcome to the show, and Happy New Year. Kirk, you there? Well, Alex, I'm not sure that he's with us.
Can you hear me now?
There we are. I had the
Hi,
wave.
Kathy.
How are you?
I'm doing well, and thank you again. What an honor it is to be your first interview of the new year and of the new decade. Very excited to be with you both here on the Health Hub.
We are excited, too. It's such an important topic, and, this is the beauty of being able to do these shows is, this is probably not the first thing on somebody's mind when they're considering their health environment, and this feeds in perfectly to what I was talking about. We need to consider our environment for health, and this is a very important piece of it, wouldn't you say?
Agreed, 100%.
So we dove in a touch on your bio about how you got involved in this area. Maybe you can sort of expound upon that so we can see where your passions come from.
Certainly. About 5 years ago, I was listening to a Holocaust survivor give her testimony. And it was during the testimony that an elderly gentleman stood up, shuffled his way over to the door, and collapsed from a heart attack. No one knew what to do. Now, I had previously been trained in CPR, so I went to work barking out orders like, hey, you, call 911, and you, go get the defibrillator. By the time I got the man's shirt off, an off-duty nurse joined the rescue with the defibrillator, and together we put the pads on him. The defibrillator started talking, saying things like analyzing heart rhythm. As a rescuer, I'm saying clear. Starts to say shock advised. Again, I'm saying, hey, no one touch the patient. Deliver shock. Shock delivered. Begin CPR. And 1, 2, 3, 4. After that first shock, it induced something called agonal gasping. Now, it looks like you're breathing, but you're not. To paint you a picture of the scene, all of his children, all of his grandchildren were there witnessing his death. This was a very emotional moment in time, as you can imagine. In fact, one of his daughters started yelling at me, get that off of him, you're going to hurt him. She had no idea because she had never been trained. So during the next few weeks after this event, I decided to do some research and discovered that this is not an isolated incident. In fact, heart disease is the number one cause of death in the world. And as you mentioned in the intro, in 1 year alone, 475,000 Americans die from sudden cardiac arrest. However, I believe that we can create a world that no one dies from sudden cardiac arrest. So in the past 5 years, I've helped thousands of people just like you gain the knowledge and acquire the resources to save the life of a coworker, friend, family member, and even complete strangers. So whether you don't have a defibrillator, whether you have one and it's old and out of warranty, or whether you have multiple defibrillators in locations all across the country, this program is for you. And so during this podcast, I'm going to share with you how we help communities, organizations, corporations, build successful AED programs that focus on awareness, education, design, implementation, and maintenance. SIte Services was created to make sure your AED program is properly designed and implemented, that it's completely compliant, documented, and in the hands of a trained volunteer responder who is ready to rescue.
Let's take it back a step here. I have seen them work, not in action. I've done the CPR course, and AED is part of it. But I've never seen it, firsthand being used as you have. Can you break down, really what an AED does, its components? Because some people may never have had, they may see it hanging on a wall. I know that they have them in the hockey arenas here, but becoming familiar with the device is, to me, half the battle. Because if someone sees somebody collapse, they may be very frightened to try and use this device. So becoming familiar with it, I think, is the first step that I'd like you to educate people with.
Sure. First things first is the defibrillator, or AED. I know many of you are probably asking yourself, Kirk, what is an AED? And so, Kathy, I'm glad you're asking the question. AED stands for Automated External Defibrillator. An automatic external defibrillator is a lightweight portable device that delivers an electric shock through the chest to the heart. So the shock can stop an irregular heartbeat and allow a normal rhythm to resume following sudden cardiac arrest. Sudden cardiac arrest occurs when the heart malfunctions and stops beating unexpectedly. It not treated within minutes, it can quickly lead to death. So most sudden cardiac arrests result from what's known as ventricular fibrillation, or VF for short. VF is a rapid and unsynchronized heart rhythm that originates in the heart's lower chambers, the ventricles. The heart must be defibrillated quickly because a victim's chance of survival drops by 7 to 10% for every minute, 60 seconds. A normal heartbeat isn't restored, and it only takes about 4 minutes without oxygen to have irreversible brain damage.
Mm-hmm. At what point during, you initiate CPR first and then the AED? At what point do you know when to switch over?
Yes, so great question. So there's this thing called the chain of survival. And the first things first is recognition, right? You want to make sure that, you understand what's happening. So scene safety is paramount. When you approach a situation, whether you saw the person collapse or not, you want to make sure the scene's safe. Let's say they fell off a ladder, the ladder's still leaning. You want to make sure that ladder is moved. Let's say that they're operating heavy machinery, they're a landscaper. Turn off their chainsaw before you go to work. Make sure the scene is safe before you do anything, because you want to have at minimum one victim instead of two. So if you go into something really quickly without checking the scene safety, and quick story, a good friend of mine literally was walking in the mall, and as you know, a lot of malls have those water features. He was walking by and he saw two people face down in the water, and he thinks to himself, what is going on here? Come to find out, first guy is working on the water feature, forgets to turn off the electricity.
Oh.
You can't really see electricity, right? So he goes to start working, he gets electrocuted, he can't move, he's now face down drowning in the water. Second guy decides to be a hero without doing what? Checking scene safety. Goes to grab him, gets himself caught in the same current, boom, 2 victims instead of 1. My buddy, keeping his head on, was able to recognize what happened, turn off the electricity, and save both of their lives. And that's just a simple, hey, check the scene to make sure the scene is safe before you go to work.
Mm-hmm.
But to continue to answer your question, yes, the scene safety, shake the person. Hey, are you okay? They might just be sleeping. You don't know, right? Hey, are you okay? No response. That's when you start barking out orders. Hey, you, call 911. You, go get the AED. If you're by yourself, you do that yourself. With the technology today, the way it is, you got your cell phone on you pretty much 24/7. You call 911 or your emergency response number, and you put that on speaker while you're doing the next steps, which is getting that defibrillator. The defibrillator is the most important aspect here because the shock is going to be what saves a person's life. If you do not have a defibrillator, then you're going to do something called hands-only CPR, and that's literally compressions continually. Typically, you do 30 compressions, 2 breaths, but guess what? If you do not have a mouth face shield for the mouth, then you're not going to mouth to mouth because, again, you don't know what they have. And that will create 2 victims instead of 1. We never teach people to go mouth to mouth because you bring whatever diseases they have to you, yourself, your spouse, your family, and then now you've created way more victims than that one that would have been the worst case scenario. So if you do not have your face shield, which I carry one on a keychain, one-way valve everywhere I go.
Oh, really?
If you do not, absolutely. And you can get them. You can check them on Amazon. You can buy them from our store on RescueSiteServices.com. You can get them anywhere. They're cheap. They're like $5. You can buy them in bulk and get them for cheaper even. Mm-hmm. So there's such an inexpensive little piece that you can put on your keychain everywhere you go, and it's perfect because I have peace of mind that, hey, look, I know how to properly give compressions, breaths, and AED use. How bad would I feel if I could not give oxygenated blood to a person that needs it when I know how to do it if I do not have the proper resources? And so knowledge without resources is useless. Vice versa. If you have the resources and nothing, knowledge, it's useless. So that's what we do. We put the knowledge and resources together. So again, back to your original question, team safety, hey, are you okay? No response, call 911, get the defibrillator, start compressions. Once the defibrillator arrives, put the pads on there, listen to the prompts of the AED. And every AED is a little bit different, but they all do the exact same thing, which is save lives through a shock. And so prompts could be something like, analyzing heart rhythm, stay calm, check responsiveness, call for help. I mean, it'll literally, walk you through the whole process, including stay calm, which is amazing. Analyzing heart rhythm. And that's where you as a rescuer say, hey, no one touched the patient, clear. Shock advised, clear. Deliver shock. Now, some AEDs are fully automatic, which means that you do not have to push a button, or they might be semi-automatic, which means you have to push a button that says deliver shock. You press that button, it says stay clear, patient delivers shock, and then it'll say shock delivered. Again, don't touch the patient until you hear shock delivered, because if you start to do compressions before then, guess who's getting that shock? You as the rescuer. But again, all these things are explained through the defibrillator. It'll literally walk you through everything. So even if you haven't been trained, it'll tell you how to do it. It'll train you right there on the spot. Now, again, training is important. We want to make sure that you have training because you will respond how you train.
Absolutely. And, after our break, we're going to go to break here in a second. People will be afraid to do this. I can imagine that I would be afraid to do it, but in the face of someone dying in front of you, you're being equipped with the proper knowledge of how to use this, and it's so vitally important. And I like the aspect of training that you talk about, because I think, as these things are put up in the offices, they're there, people know about them. I don't know the legalities. I think that for every certain number of people, there has to be somebody who is trained on CPR and AED, but it's the fear of using them, and we need to get over that if we're going to save somebody's life. So we're going to come back after a short break and continue this conversation.
The power of sin and darkness, whose love is mighty and so much stronger. The King of glory, the King above all kings, who shakes the whole earth with holy thunder and leaves us breathless in awe and wonder. The King of glory, the King above all kings. This is amazing grace. This is unfailing love.
You are listening to The Health Hub here on Radio Maria Canada, a Catholic voice wherever you are. To contact us and be a part of the show, please call 416-245-1534. We now continue with the program. Here once again is your host, Kathy Biasi.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here talking with Kirk Mote on the life-saving importance of AEDs. Kirk, I want to get right into an area that we've had some off-air discussion about, and that's the importance of people considering putting AEDs into their own homes. This is an area that I know you're very motivated in, and why so?
Absolutely, yes. So with heart disease being the number one cause of death in the world, this truly is a global issue. Over 70% of out-of-hospital cardiac arrests happen at home. That's someone you know. That's someone you love. And who really needs an AED here? I mean, well, everyone who loves and cares for their spouse, their child, their parents, their grandparents. These AEDs should literally be in every home. See, my vision is target zero, and simply put, to create a world where no one dies from sudden cardiac arrest. And we can do that by placing this life-saving technology in every home, apartment, condo, hotel, hospital, every living place, every workplace, and every public place, of course, but specifically every living place. And see, our brains are very fragile. And I think I kind of hinted towards it earlier, but it only takes 4 minutes for your brain to have irreversible brain damage. And, you know, if your emergency response system is anything like the United States, I mean, it takes over 4 minutes for someone to call the emergency number and to have someone actually arrive. And so that's why it's so important to have that life-saving device in your home, because without it, the inevitable will happen.
And probably the most prohibitive aspect of doing this is the price point. Is that correct?
Unfortunately, it's sad to say, but yes. And, you know, for me, I don't know about you, but I can't put a price on a life, but I can put a price on pleasure. And so when you look down at your wrist and you see an Apple Watch, and in your other hand you see an Apple phone, a tablet, and a iPad Pro, and all that stuff. I mean, there's not a shortage of money. And people have money, and people have the resources and the means to spend money on what they value, which is pleasure or what have you, but they don't value life. And I think that's the underlying issue here. People don't value life like they value other things, and so they're not willing to invest a couple grand into a life-saving technology device that will literally save your spouse or your kid or your parent or grandparent.
Yeah, it's you know, I'm not sure if it's a value on life, or it's not even considering that, you know, you could be in that situation. You know, sometimes it's not until you're faced with something that's, you know, a health issue that you see your own mortality. And I guess it's an issue that we don't want to consider. You know, we don't want to talk about our mortality and that we have a finite time on this earth, but in conversations and in the area of truisms, this is something that we need to do, something that we need to consider, especially if you have a heart condition. You know, this is an area that I still don't think has been fulfilled with our system. Someone who has had a heart attack or past, a history of heart attack or any type of heart disease, these should be something that is sort of considered in the follow-up conversations with the physicians. It's so vitally important. Now, is there a risk of having these in the home if you have younger children?
That's such a great question, because I think oftentimes people, like you said, are scared of technology or scared of this device because it's unfamiliar or unknown. And again, that has to do with training, and it has to do with, familiarizing yourself with the resources that you have. And to answer your question, no, there is no risk to have one of these in your home with your kids, unlike, having a weapon that's unsecured or having medicine that's not, put, out of reach of the children. Like, kids can get a hold of weapons or get a hold medicine or alcohol or stuff that they shouldn't be touching at that age. But with the AED, the beautiful thing about a defibrillator is it will not shock unless it's a shockable rhythm. That's a VFib or VTAC, and that's in layman's terms, that's if your heart is kind of sputtering and like a little shaking a little bit, or if it's beating way too slow. Now, if the heart is beating normally, or if it's stagnant, then it's not going to shock the person. So if a kid got your AED out, put the pads on them, turned it on, analyzing heart rhythm, guess what? It's going to say shock not advised, and it's not going to shock them. I can literally put the device on me right now, and it will not shock me, will not shock the kid, and the safety features are perfect for in-home.
It's interesting to know. Now, do the AEDs, are they operated on battery? Do we need to be checking them? Is there a signal if it's not charged? How does it work? Is it a battery-operated device?
Absolutely. So there are about 6 FDA-approved manufacturers of AEDs on the market. Each have multiple models, similar to the car industry, right? So multiple makes and models. Everyone has their own proprietary, lithium battery pack that they charge an arm and leg for. But the beautiful part about the Zoll AED Plus is they use Duracell 1, 2, 3 batteries, 10 of them. And you can literally buy them, at your local Walmart or, convenience store. And so that's a great price point because the consumables, you're going to have consumables. And what I mean by consumables is something that expires, right? So batteries and pads both have a shelf life. And the batteries have a 5-year shelf life, and the pads have a 5-year shelf life for the Zoll AED Plus. Now, other makes and models out there might only have a 2-year shelf life. And so I sell every AED on the market. We obviously push the Zoll above the others because it's the lowest total cost of ownership for the consumer or the business owner.
Okay. Now, the unique thing about your product as well is that you offer training with it. Are you the only company to do that? I think that was in your bio.
Yeah, so I'm not the only company that offers the product and training, but what we do specifically is we believe that there are 3 components to a successful AED program. The first component is going to be the hardware, and that is the defibrillator itself. Like I said, we sell every AED on the market, but we can point you to the one that's going to be the lowest total cost of ownership for the consumer or business. We also offer the leasing option, which is literally $73 per month. That's lower than your cost of a Wi-Fi to have a life-saving device in your business. The second component is going to be the training itself, which is going to teach you how to use the product. That's going to be the AED. It's going to teach you how to give breaths, how to give compressions, choking, how to relieve choking, and how to use naloxone. That's also included in our training. And naloxone, for those who do not know, is an opioid drug reversal. Okay, so if you have a friend or family member that has a prescribed opioid prescription, sometimes they can abuse it and have an OD situation. And you can actually have naloxone as an over-the-counter drug that as a nasal spray and save their life. And we go into that during the training. The third and final component is going to be the program management solution. And the program management solution is essentially where you get to maintain and manage your program. And so we want to make sure that you have everything you need in order to properly do that. So to rescue a victim of cardiac arrest, you need an AED that is ready to deliver a life-saving shock. But just having an AED is not good enough. You must make sure your AED is working and in the hands of a trained volunteer responder. If that's at home or business, doesn't matter. If that sounds simple to you, you may not realize all you need to know and do to set up and maintain a successful AED program. Our AED program management makes sure you are ready, compliant, and completely documented while taking up as little of your time as possible. So according to the AHA Every Second Counts fact sheet, communities with comprehensive AED programs that include CPR and AED training for rescuers have achieved survival rates of nearly 40% for cardiac arrest. And to put that in perspective, if you were to have a heart attack, sudden cardiac arrest anywhere in the United States right now, your chance of survival is 5%.
Really?
This is why our AED professionals are committed to helping communities and organizations just like yours build successful AED programs that focus on awareness, education, design, implementation, and maintenance. Setting up and maintaining a successful AED program is not as simple as it sounds, especially if it's not your area of expertise, but it is ours. And we make sure your AED program is properly designed and implemented, that it's compliant, completely documented, and in the hands of a trained volunteer responder who's ready to rescue. And we don't stop there either. We offer post-event support and a number of other services you may not have even thought of. And if it's AED related, we got you covered. And by the way, what I mean by post-event support is if you have an AED in your business and someone has to use that AED is contains the medical records of the victim. And so that has to be turned into the analyzed. And if you only have one defibrillator in your location, say you're a small business, maybe a gym, you're now tough out of luck until that analyzing process is over. However, now we overnight you an AED, so you're never without an AED, your life-saving device.
Oh, that's an interesting point. So two things have popped into my mind. Is the AED, it can work over and over again? So if you've had to utilize it, do you just wait until, like you have just said, the information has been recorded and then it's usable again? You just hang it up and wait for the next time? Or do you need to recalibrate this thing, get a new one? How does that work?
Yeah, so the AED itself can literally deliver hundreds of shots. Okay. It's incredible. So, however, when you have an event, a cardiac event where it's been used, you turn it in to be analyzed. When we return it to you, they have fresh batteries and fresh pads. So it starts from scratch, essentially. Like you can literally do the whole process over again. You can't use pads a second time. Those only have a one-time use.
Okay.
And actually, sometimes don't have any use because people forget to shave the hair off the chest. And that's so important because if you only have one set of pads, we encourage our clients to have the original set as well as a backup pair. Because what happens is if you have hair on your chest, that can disrupt the current and it won't recognize that it's on the chest and analyze the heart rhythm. So you got to shave. Again, that's another feature that comes within the packet of your AED. It's a razor to shave the chest of your hair and then put the pads on it.
Okay, that's interesting to know. And one thing that I'm very personally interested in this, is there liability? A, if you've been trained and do not use it, or B, if you do use it and the outcome is not favorable or there's been an issue?
Great question. So liability, this is actually a very common misconception, and I'm here to say that people are thinking about it all wrong. Everyone else is telling you that having a defibrillator in your home or office is liability. However, I am saying that having a defibrillator in your office or your home could, in fact, be your biggest asset. You're thinking about it all wrong. Most people worry about the liability of having a defibrillator when you should be thinking about the liability of not having a defibrillator. And that is what happens if you know that you have the resources that you can purchase or lease, and you choose not to, and someone dies on your watch. You see, now we're thinking about assets versus liability, profits and loss, and losing your highest performing employee. Look at it from that perspective even. Now, that's kind of the seller's perspective, but I mean, from, stockholder's point of view. Mm-hmm. This could all be prevented with a simple AED program that costs literally less than your monthly Wi-Fi bill. And so, to answer your specific question, I don't know the specific laws in Canada because we're actually We're in the United States, but we're moving to Canada. We're actually, in the process of expanding to Canada. However, I can tell you right now that in the United States, Good Samaritan laws will protect you if you use the resources that you have been given and the knowledge that you have been given. So what I mean by that is, hey, if I have taught you CPR and AED, then if you perform breath, compressions, AED use, choking the lock zone, that's all within the scope of what I've trained you to do. If you try to perform a tracheotomy on this person, well, guess what? You're probably going to get sued because you haven't been trained to do that properly. So it all has to do with operating within the scope of how you've been trained. And I'm sure that Canada has a very similar Good Samaritan law that covers, pretty much the same exact thing. But as for the United States, absolutely, you have nothing to worry about when it comes to operating within the scope of what you have been trained. And let me hit on something else that we haven't really talked about. You mentioned how, people are kind of scared of using AEDs. People are also scared of compressions, too, because guess what? If you're doing a compression properly, you're breaking ribs. Yikes, right? Mm-hmm. That's completely contradictory to what everything you've ever been taught. You don't want to break ribs. That's gross. It feels weird. It's not a good thing. But guess what? I'd rather you do something than nothing. I'd rather you revive the victim with an injury rather than him stay dead permanently.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. Now, if I'm a business owner, how many AEDs per employee do you recommend?
So, not necessarily per employee is certainly an aspect, but it has a lot to do with square footage and access.
Okay.
Because drop the shot, ideally, you're getting 7 to 10% less likely to save the person's life every minute it goes by, right? So if someone hits the deck right now, it's going to probably take you a quick second to be like, oh my gosh, someone just fell down. He's probably joking, right? No, he's not. Okay, someone call 911. But all this is taking time. And by the time you actually get down on the ground, check to make sure the scene's safe, shake him, make sure he wasn't, goofing off or sleeping or whatever the case may be. This might be 60 seconds into it, and he's now at 90% chance of survival if you give him an AED right that second.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at having an AED close enough to where you can put that AED on him within 3 minutes. 90 seconds is like golden, but 3 minutes is kind of like the highest point in time that you want to have that set. So depending on, and again, the way we set it up is the slowest person in your office, how long is it going to take him or her to get from point A to point B and back with that defibrillator? Mm-hmm. And then that's how many AEDs we're going to, strategically put around, places that are publicly used. So that's going to be your break room. That's going to be stairs, elevators, bathrooms, places that everyone sees every day. So when someone says, hey, you go get the AED, it's not like, what is that? I've never seen one. Oh, is it behind the desk of the front reception? You want it in a publicly viewable area where all of your clients can see as they come in, so they have peace of mind that, hey, wow, they care about my health and safety.
Mm-hmm. No, those are good points. Those are good points, and I'm not sure that we would consider that. Now we're coming towards the end of our show. I want to give you some space. You said you're coming to Canada at some point. Anything else going on that you want to share with us? Especially your contact information, but anything going on, new projects coming up in the new decade?
Yeah, so one thing that I am super excited about is I have always wanted to write a book. And as of last year, I was like, okay, I'm going to actually do this. And I made it my New Year's resolution, and I started on it late last year, and I am planning to release my very first book in February, and I am super excited. You can get it on Amazon, and super excited to tell you about this because this is literally going to walk you through our process of how we develop successful AED programs. So yes, you could literally teach you how to do it yourself. You can hire us to do it with you, or you can have, a hire package to have us do it for you. So we have you covered in every area so that you can feel confident that what you're doing is right and what you're doing will save lives.
Excellent. Now, how can listeners contact you if they want more information to find out about your product, or when you're coming to Canada, if it's a Canadian that's listening?
Absolutely, yeah. So, my name's Kirk Mote. As you've mentioned a few times, I am the owner of Rescue SIte Services, and you can find us on rescuesiteservices.com. You can Google us, Rescue SIte Services. You'll find us on LinkedIn, Rescue SIte Services on Facebook, Rescue SIte Services on Instagram. I'm trying to think if there's any other. I think we're about to start a YouTube channel. I mean, we are growing. We're getting bigger. We're going from, one nation to the world, and we're going to get an AED in every single home, every single business, such that Target Zero is not a vision but a reality, where no one dies from sudden cardiac arrest.
Well, excellent. And, we here fully back that and wish you all the best, Kirk. It's been a great conversation. It's not something, as I said, that would come to mind in the health sphere a lot. And I'm really glad that we had the opportunity to present this to our listeners. All of Kirk's social sites will be up when the podcast is up, and we will be sending out a note on our social media sites when that is up. Kirk, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
And we will talk to everybody next week on The Health Hub.
You have been listening to The Health Hub, hosted